What's up, my friends? It's Bob here. This entire GameStop news, combined with the recent class action lawsuit against the famous Robinhood Investment App, has truly made this week unprecedented times in the investment industry. Okay, now raise your hand if you are sick and tired of the term unprecedented times. I sure am. So, with all of this news, on Robinhood screwing investors out of buying GameStop, Nokia, AMC stocks, among others on January 28th, alongside of the new class action lawsuit, you might be wondering, should I continue to invest with Robinhood? Or should I cash out and run away? And what am I doing personally? That's what I'm breaking down in today's video. I'm going to share some perspectives that you need to know that I don't think we're thinking about before you go ahead and tell Robinhood to go themselves, or you decide you want to stay with Robinhood as your investment strategy. Personally, I don't care what your decision is, you need to make the best decision. My goal today is to provide you value and some information that you may not know, so that you can make the best informed decision. Before we talk about the important points of what Robinhood did that you need to know, we need to first understand how we even got to this point. So basically, a bunch of fat cats from Wall Street, such as Melvin Capital and a few other hedge funds, decided they were going to game up on GameStop, which technically had the same type of business model as Blockbuster. In today's world, not many people are going to the physical stores to buy video games. So they thought, we're gonna bet down that share price is gonna go down, GameStop might even go out of business, and because they decided to do it in that fashion, which is what we call shorting a stock, they were standing to make billions of dollars. So the goal was they were going to borrow the stock to eventually sell it back after the lower price, and because they did that, they would earn money as a result of shorting the stock. More on how that actually works in the video linked up above. But then you have a bunch of internet chatter with people like you and I on this forum called Wall Street Bets that decide, hey, GameStop has some opportunity, let's all get together, buy into this, which will drive the share price up because we're buying more shares. As a result of that, the fat cats have a decision to make. They can either get out of their position because the stock price is going up, which is what they don't want, or they let it ride. But if they let it ride and the stock price keeps going higher, they could actually lose more and more money. So what happens? The fat cats quickly cancel out, buy back the shares, and as a result of buying back those shares to minimize the amount of money that they're losing, the share price, of course, continues to keep going up. And that's what led us to this last week where GameStop was seeing an unbelievable high from what, $30 a share up to a peak of $400 per share in the middle of this week. Absolutely crazy, guys. And then cue up Robinhood Investment App, who decided at the height of all of this surge to cancel the ability to buy into these high-value stocks, such as GameStop, AMC, and a few others. Now, do I think this was right? No, I don't necessarily think this was the right thing to do, of course, because that cancels people's ability to trade in the free and open market. Because I think there's something that you and I may be missing here. So I decided to dig a little deeper to really understand what was going on. Now, I asked you on a recent poll over on the community tab what you were planning to do. Some of you are staying with Robinhood, but over 50% of people that voted are transferring their funds to either Webull or M1 Finance or one of the investment apps such as that. But did you actually know that GameStop was also halted on Webull, M1 Finance, TD Ameritrade, and even Charles Schwab, from what I heard, during the course of the day? Now, the difference was on those apps, it was anywhere from about 11:30 a.m. to 3 p.m., whereas Robinhood halted the trade all day long on the 28th of January. This, of course, triggering mass chaos and inducing that class action lawsuit that basically blames Robinhood for halting and trying to protect the hedge funds. Now, some people are linking this toward Citadel, which helps Robinhood execute trades and pays Robinhood very good money for that result. Citadel also has an interest in Melvin Capital, you know, the hedge fund that lost billions of dollars in the GameStop craze. So was Robinhood protecting Citadel and Melvin Capital with this move? Well, honestly, I think we need to let the investigation and the lawyers figure that out. But am I leaving Robinhood? No, I'm not. I'm not fucking leaving! The show goes on, as the Wolf of Wall Street famously said. And here's why. Buckle up, my friends, it's about to be a crazy ride. This, after I researched, is what I really think went down on January 28th. When you buy a share from your favorite brokerage, you'll typically see the share execute and arrive in your account almost immediately, as long as it's during the trading hours. But on the back end, there's actually a much longer process that goes on. First, you say you want to buy a share of stock. Your brokerage then uses a clearinghouse to execute and buy the share of stock from the seller. This process can take anywhere from 2 to 3 days, typically. Now, during this time, a clearinghouse has to have enough capital to cover the cost of the share you just purchased in the case that something crazy happens or the company, otherwise known as the seller, goes bankrupt. Now, most brokerages use a third-party clearinghouse to help them execute the shares and the trades that you purchase. Brokerages such as Webull, Stash, M1 Finance all use the same third-party clearinghouse known as Apex Clearing Corporation. So the reason that most of these apps halted GameStop on January 28th was actually because Apex asked them to do so. And then on the other hand, you have Robinhood, Charles Schwab, E-Trade, and a few others. Now what they do, they don't use a third-party clearinghouse, they actually self-clear. And that is where things get very interesting. During the course of the GameStop surge, orders for shares were coming in at a massive rate, sending the volatility of the stock through the roof. If you have brokerages sending in orders of a massive amount with potentially limited outstanding shares left of the company's stock, the clearing firm has to keep enough capital to pay you back if they're not able to execute the share correctly. So let's give this example. Let's say you bought GameStop at $200 a share and the clearinghouse isn't able to execute the share correctly. Now the price is up to $400. Well, what they have to do, since they couldn't execute that share, is pay you back what the share price is worth at that moment. That means you and everybody else that went crazy buying shares, they actually got to front that extra money. On top of that, you have what they call the DTC. This is the Depository Trust Company. Now, due to the high demands of GameStop and others, they told clearinghouses that they had to have 100% cash reserve for any of these fast-moving stocks. So with that limited notice is clearinghouses really didn't have that much capital on hand in reserve in the case that something would have happened. This, of course, forced them to halt new buy orders to protect themselves because they can't pass those type of requirements and costs on to the customer, you and I, because of SEC regulations. So that means Robinhood, being its own clearinghouse and not using a third-party clearinghouse, had to protect itself because if you think about it, Robinhood is indeed the most popular investing app at this time. If you look on the App Store, it is ranked above Webull and everything else, ranked number 1. So they have a lot of opportunity to potentially have a big problem if they have massive orders coming in and something crazy happens. So the Robinhood CEO, he attempted to explain this, but I personally think he did a terrible job. Yeah, he spoke way over everybody's head and it made no sense. Webull CEO, he did a better job blaming the third-party clearinghouse Apex for asking them to pause from 11:30 a.m. to 3 p.m. that day on January 28th. But with this understanding, I can personally understand why they would want to do that to protect themselves, because they can't pass those costs on. If the share price goes flying high to the moon, all of a sudden all the shares are gone or something weird happens and they can't execute that trade, that means they're kind of screwed and all their cash reserves goes away. No business wants to lose a ton of money, let's be honest. Now, I can almost see with a crystal clear vision that there's gonna be some SEC regulation and a few other things coming out as a result of what happened this week with GameStop. This is truly a historical time and something to keep your eye on because it'll be interesting what type of regulations come from this. If you remember the Wolf of Wall Street, Jordan Belfort, and some of the pump and dumps of 1980, a lot of regulations such as circuit breakers in the stock market became a thing because of what was happening as a result of Stratton Oakmont and the Jordan Belfort scheme. But a lot of you have asked a very important question, and that is, what if the lawsuits actually hold up and Robinhood has to go out of business or they go bankrupt or something crazy like that happens? What happens to all the money I have in Robinhood? Well, very good point. Here's the good news. You are actually protected by the SIPC. They protect up to $500,000 that you may have invested, along with up to $250,000 that you may have in cash buying power. So if anything would happen in Robinhood, Stash, or any of the other investment brokerages, don't worry, you're protected by the SIPC. Because I gotta talk about the casino that is GameStop. I know some of you love the diamond hands. You want to get in on this and potentially make riches. You're hearing the stories, you're getting very excited. Some of you are buying at the $300 price point. You're buying at the peak. All I can say is be careful, my friends. This is not a strategy I like. It's not a strategy I'm jumping in on because I'm gonna side with the famous billionaire Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett says to be fearful when people are greedy. And right now there's a lot of greed going on with GameStop. People are getting in. Hopefully it's gonna go from $300 to $400 to $1,000, but there's a good chance that it could not. And then you're gonna lose all your money. So I even saw a post on Twitter where people were pulling out personal loans. They were draining their emergency funds and putting it into GameStop at the height of $200 or $300 in hopes that it goes up even more. And that's like being in the casino. You're putting in all your money, all of your hard-earned money, in hope that that little ball lands on the color that you put your money on in the roulette wheel. Even the Wolf of Wall Street himself, the actual Jordan Belfort, not Leo DiCaprio, actually came forward and said, this is all fun, it's all exciting, but when this comes to a halt, when it comes to a crash, it's gonna be like catching a falling knife. It's gonna be very difficult to do that. Be careful is all I can say. What I do personally, if you are new to this channel or this is the first video you have seen here on my channel, is I invest for the long term. I am building my portfolio up to $1 million through a variety of not just Robinhood, but I'm into Webull, I'm into Schwab, I'm into Stash, I'm into a lot of different things, and I'm very strategic about what I do with my money. I want to get paid monthly dividends. I want to be able to get into companies that have a lot of value growth. Gamestop is not one of them to me, but there are a lot that I think are going to go upward over the course of a period of time. It's not get rich quick, but when you look back on it, it's going to feel like you got rich overnight. So be careful, invest regularly, and continue to grow your sweet life. So with this new perspective that we just talked about today on this clearinghouse reserves that they need to have, does that change your mind a little bit about Robinhood and your personal investment strategy? Comment down below and let me know what you think. I'd be interested to find out. But until next time, and as always, continue to live your sweet life because you, my friend, are worth it. Have an awesome day. We'll see you next time.